And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking week 9. It's the midway point of the NFL season. It's my flu game, my Michael Jordan flu game. I am dying of an illness. Pretty sure my co-host gave it to me on the weekend. It's all his fault. Warren's how we doing?
I was about to start with issuing you an apology because I do feel like I am to blame for your cold, which I also am just still getting over mine. So we're battling, but we're here and ready to rock.
Yeah, you also have to deal with the Hail Mary game on top of being sick this weekend. So feel free. You still got the Bears gear. Like you're not giving up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that Hail Mary was I ranked it third in most painful losses of teams in my life. It's still behind the Double Doink and behind 4-1 versus the Bruins. So we're not in that territory, but it comes in third as most painful loss I've suffered. But I found a way to spin it. To a positive. I'll touch on it when we get to the Bears game.
I was thinking, is the Devin Hester Super Bowl not going to be up there? You're a little too young for that one?
Well, they lost that game to Peyton Manning. Like it wasn't like I'm talking in terms of like crushing defeats where like they should have won the game and then lost. You know what I mean? Like that Super Bowl, Peyton Manning beat the Bears. Like it was best offense versus best defense. It wasn't nearly as crushing as a Hail Mary where a guy's waving to the crowd in the end zone because he thinks the game is over, and then it's his guy who catches the ball. Oh my Tyrese!
We're getting y'all riled up again. We're getting y'all for stuff. Yeah. Well, no more Bears Commanders talk. We'll obviously talk a little bit more about that game. Let's start off with Week 9. And then we got a hot one out the gate. The New England Patriots on the road to play the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are 3.5-point favorites. It looks like Drake May is going to play. He is hopeful. According to the team, he's going through concussion protocol. He practiced again today. So all signs point to May getting a quick bounce back after a concussion. The Titans got mollywopped last week. They outgained the Lions 191 yards and still lost by 20-plus points. It was an ugly one for Titans fans. Warrensy, what you looking at?
Yeah, you can't look at the yardage there. And the reason Tennessee in the yard compartment looked closer to Detroit was all the special teams yards for the Lions and then garbage time yards for Tennessee. I still have huge questions about this offense, even if it is Rudolph or Levis. They've been struggling. Last week they did finally have success with Ridley. I believe he had 100 yards in the first quarter.
118 yards in the first quarter. 118.
Yeah, we were like, what is this? So that's the first time all year Ridley has shown something, but it didn't result to points on the board for this Tennessee Titans offense in the long run. And asking Rudolph or Levis to be favorites of over a field goal, that's not in my book. So I'm taking the Patriots and the points here since we're getting the hook.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Patriots plus 3.5. You brought up the Titans special teams. So when I was doing like digging for the week, I went across the special teams DVOA rankings, which is always a fun look. Warrensy, the Titans special teams is on pace to have the worst special teams unit in DVOA history. Right now, they're sitting at minus 15.3%. It's not good, and it was terrible last week. And it just goes to show like this stuff can affect week to week. Like you can lose games this way, and the Titans are.
It cost them week 1 against the Bears. The Bears only won that game because of a block punt returned for a touchdown. And I know they had another block punt later in the season too. So yeah, the special teams down in Tennessee is definitely an issue, but I don't like the Patriots enough to make it a lock or anything by those means. I mean, they had a nice win last week, but if you look at the box score in that one, speaking of box score watching, they didn't even have 250 yards of offense last week. It was kind of, I know it was Jacoby Brissett doing it, but a lot of it came late on a drive where they converted 3 different third down and longs. They were 3rd and 9 pluses. They converted 3 of them. I think that speaks more to the Jets defense than this Patriots offense, but I don't love what I'm seeing on that side of the ball either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not going to talk about the Jets. I do want to bring this up quickly. They were the first team since 2012, the Jets, to lose a game when allowing less than 250 yards and not turning the ball over. Like, it was a historic choke job.
It's a miracle how the Patriots won that game last week.
All right, next up, the New Orleans Saints are 7-point favorites on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers. The Saints have lost 6 straight by a combined score of 177-94. been an ugly 6-game losing streak. However, they are starting to get healthy. Derek Carr is expected to play after an absence due to a oblique injury. They get Pete Warner back on the linebacker, who's like, their defense has not been good either. It hasn't been its typical Dennis Allen defense. Bryce Young is going to start again for the Carolina Panthers. Andy Dalton said today that he thinks he could play. Like, this was a let's see Bryce again more than Dalton's still hurt. I guess Bryce has the chance here to kind of lock up the starting job for the rest of the year. But these two teams saw each other earlier in the season, and the Saints spanked them 47-10. They meet again. Warrensy, what you got?
Don't remind me. That was one of my locks week 1, being on the Panthers. That game was over in the first quarter.
What you got in this one?
So, yes, the Saints are getting healthy. I think technically you could say the Panthers are getting a little bit healthier too, because they are getting back. Jonathan Brooks is expected to play this week. So is Adam Thielen. I know you must be excited about Brooks. He's been sitting on your bench all year in fantasy, but they traded away Deontay Johnson. So we're back to Adam Thielen being wide receiver 1. You know how I feel about that. That doesn't
hold
excite
up. Jalen Coker is the guy I want to talk about here. One of my
you like his game?
One of my draft crushes come to fruition. I was baffled he didn't get drafted. He was a great watch at a Holy Cross. He just went to too small of a school. He's got juice, man. He leads the team in yards per route run over the last few weeks. He's flourishing. 0.7 EPA per target, which is very high. I think he's going to be the wide receiver number 1. An undrafted free agent is outplaying Xavier Legette right now in Carolina.
Yeah, I guess that's somewhat of an issue, although it's nice to see him doing well. I remember that name, actually, now that you say it. I remember doing that.
I pushed him off once he didn't get drafted. I'm like, maybe I was wrong here. Because I thought he was worth like a 5th-round pick. And again, it's nice to see him. He's a big guy. He's got, like, he can move. He had a 9.5 RAS score. I don't know. I'm excited to see him get some more targets. Tried picking up him in all my fantasy leagues, but I was beaten to it in all of them so far. So.
Right. Well, unfortunately, that's probably the only thing on this offense worth watching. There's really not much to get excited about, but they do have a really, really banged up Saints defense that they're going up against. So maybe Bryce Young can get something going offensively. I know he started the game hot last week. He was, I think, 6 for 6 on the first drive for 48 yards. It was looking great. And then I remember seeing his halftime stat line, and he had, I think, 63 yards, and he was 7 for 18 going into the half. So he had a very good first drive, and then things just fell apart against that Denver defense. But he has a much easier matchup this week. So I'm just in a division game taking the +7 here.
Oh, you're going to take the Panthers. Okay. I'm going to go on the other side.
It's not like the Saints aren't like, give me a reason to take the Saints, because I don't have one.
Well, they won 47-10 the first game, so there's history behind it. And just something I dug up on True Media, the Panthers are dead last in outside zone runs by a wide margin in EPA, and that's what the Saints live off of. Like, I think Alvin Kamara is going to run a lot. You get Carr back. I can't trust Carolina. Their defense is horrific.
Yeah,
there's nothing going on there.
It's not a lock for sure.
Yeah. I can't.
I think these are arguably 2 of the worst defenses in the league currently with what they're trotting out there due to injuries. So I did consider the over 43, but then I realized, wait, I can't bet over and Bryce Young in the same game.
All right. A little bit of a fun one here. Denver Broncos on the road to take on the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are 9.5-point favorites. Some injury news to watch. Lamar Jackson has missed the last 2 practices. He was not spotted at practice today. It's back, and I think leg injury they're calling it, but John Harbaugh did say it was rest yesterday, but he wasn't there today. So we're kind of all, I got my work today. We're kind of like, what are we doing with this? This is a weird one. We'll obviously hear more on Friday. We're recording on Thursday, but I would expect he plays. But again, something to watch. The Vegas thinks he's playing because they're still 9.5-point favorites. What you got, Warrensy?
Yeah, I'm actually looking right now, and currently I don't see the game listed on the book I have open. So there are some books that are a little wary of this one due to Lamar Jackson. He's a huge factor on the point spread. So Baltimore, I think their defense might have gotten a little bit exposed last week, but football's a really funny game, right? Because they lose that game outright to Cleveland. Play before the Jameis Winston touchdown to Cedric Tillman, Kyle Hamilton dropped a really easy interception. A ball that he catches way more than often than he drops. And I just wonder what the narrative is going into this game if Kyle Hamilton had caught that ball. and you're getting a Denver team who's feeling good about their game, but I think that this spread, although it is 9.5, I feel like it would be a lot higher if Kyle Hamilton caught that ball. So I'm leaning Baltimore minus 9.5.
Do you know who the backup quarterback is for the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, this is assuming Lamar's playing.
No,
obviously. The spread wouldn't be 9.5.
No,
if
I'm
Lamar
with
is
you.
not playing.
That's not where I was going with this. I think Lamar's going to play, but it's funny. It's funny if he doesn't play. Who the backup quarterback is?
Who is it?
It's Josh Johnson.
No way.
Yes, he will be
crazy.
starting. I don't think he started for Baltimore, but that guy started for basically every single team at some point during his NFL
didn't know he
career.
was still in the league.
Yeah, he's still kicking, baby. He's Lamar's backup. Okay, back to Baltimore. Lamar's going to play, in my opinion, but again, we'll see. Anyways, their pass rush is a problem, Warnsey. They are 25th in pressure rate right now. They're 28th in EPA per dropback allowed on defense. Jameis Winston threw for 300-plus yards on them. Cedric Tillman had a nice day. That bet hit, of course, for me last week. But
rocking chair.
Yeah, that was like one of the easiest bets I've had all year. But the offense, I think, is a lot of smoke and mirrors right now. Bo Nix just got Rookie of the Month in October. Missed me with that one. Like, are you kidding me? He had 4 touchdowns
EPA
last
numbers.
week.
Oh,
yeah, like so he was dead last in EPA out of all quarterbacks, except for Deshaun Watson in the month of September. The month of October, he was 19th. Guess where Jaden Daniels was in the month of October? First. Like, what are we doing here? It makes no sense to me. Like they did well against the Carolina Panthers last week. Everyone does. I do think that Bo Nix, like when he has to actually drop back and pass, go through his reads, and there's a wide receiver wide open, he has to throw in a tight windows. I still don't think he's got it. That leans me to Baltimore. However, I just think the Broncos defense is worth this 9.5 here. They're first in EPA. They're first in success rate. Zach Allen leads all interior pass rushers in pressures. He's 5th in the league in general. Jonathan Cooper's look great. He has 5.5 sacks. So it's not going to be one of my locks, but I'll take Denver in the points plus 9.5. It's a big number.
Lamar is a big step up in class to what this Denver defense has seen. I guess one of my just overall takes is Denver's 5-win record is fraudulent to me based on their opponents. So, they're a team I'm going to be looking to fade going forward. I won't be locking it in this week, but I was close to making Baltimore a lock this week. I think they get right and lay it on Denver this week.
All right, well, still no locks through 3 games, and the Las Vegas Raiders are heading into the Bengals for our 4th game. The Bengals are 7.5-point favorites. Joe Burrow called this a must-win game in the media yesterday. It's week 9, and the Cincinnati Bengals are already in must-win mode.
Last week was must-win for them. What is he talking about?
They looked bad in the second half, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They couldn't do anything. Jalen Hurts of the Eagles offense picked them apart. These 2 teams in general, Warnsey, are the 2 worst run offenses in the league. The Raiders have a 28.8 rush success rate right now. That would be the worst since RBS DM's database started in 2018, so over the last 6 years. The Bengals are 31st. They're barely over that 28.8 mark. Both these teams can't run the football, and in today's NFL this year, the best teams are moving the ball on the ground. So if you want to know why both these teams are sitting with 3 wins and 2 wins, that's why. The Bengals 7.5-point favorites as a 3-win team is a lot to me. This one's tough. Do you got anything?
I don't have a great feel on this one. I'm not putting a lockdown on anything, but I do want to see if T. Higgins plays. I really thought that last week the offense really missed him. It was Jamar Chase first read for Joe Burrow, and he didn't really go to his second read, I thought, as often as he should, because he also didn't have time to. This offense it looked bad in the second half, and T. Higgins not being there was a big issue, but I do think the spread would be higher than 7 if T. Higgins was playing. So since there's no hook there and it's 7 right now, I would take the Bengals. If it went to 7.5, I think I would take Raiders. That's like how close I am on this game and don't really have a good feel on it.
I got 7.5 on my book. That's what I was going off of. I took the Raiders 7.5.
Yeah,
I don't love it
if
either.
we're doing 7.5 for the show, then I'll go with Raiders then.
I don't love it either. Another thing too with the Bengals, they had 3 pressures last week against the Eagles. They can't get after the quarterback.
Yeah, the back door is going to be wide open in this one. We
Mm-hmm.
saw the Raiders backdoor the Chiefs last week, and this Bengals defense is far worse than that Chiefs defense. So, is it going to be Minshew again? Is
It's going
O'Connell
to be
still
Minshew.
hurt?
O'Connell's on
Yeah.
IR, yeah.
So Minshew got a backdoor last week. Let's get us a backdoor this week, Gardner.
Yeah, I will not be putting money on the Raiders, but for the show, 7.5. All right. The Los Angeles Chargers on the road to take on the Cleveland Browns. They're 1.5 point road favorites, the Chargers. When I thought it was interesting when I was diving into this game, we went into this year thinking Chargers are going to be a run first offense. They're going to run the ball down your throat. They're going to like pass 15, 20 times a game. That hasn't been the case since the bye week. The Chargers pass attack has come alive, and they're kind of leaning on Justin Herbert a lot more. They were 26 in dropback EPA before the bye. They're 14th since the bye. And the run game, Warrensy, right now is 29th in rush success rate. This is a team that's struggling to move the ball on the ground. They're third in pass rate over expected since the bye, too. They're the third most pass-happy team in the league over the last few weeks. So they're starting to realize, hey, that Justin Herbert guy's pretty darn good. Let's throw the ball if we're struggling to run. So I kind of like where their offense is going, especially with Ladd McConkey starting to pick up his play. He looked great last week, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. Jameis Winston, the Browns, we can actually talk about again, like a fun team now that Deshaun Watson's gone. I don't know. I kind of like this matchup. I'll have eyes on it. What you got?
Oh, I thought you were talking about it so heavily because you liked the game and had a play on it. You don't have a lock here?
I was going, the Chargers -1.5 was like my first pick off. I'm going with 2 props this week and only 1 spread. This would be, I guess, my second favorite spread.
Okay, this is a game I don't really have a great feel on. I lean Browns, if I'm being honest. That's what I'll take Browns for the sake of the show. And it's more, I guess, I just have confidence in this team right now because the offensive line is healthy and Nick Chubb is there. And I know last week the box score doesn't show a lot of rush yards, but they're playing the Ravens, a team that's very good against the run. But just having that healthy O-line and Chubb there made the Ravens have to respect the Browns' run game, and that's what opened up Stefanski's offense for them to be able to throw the ball. If the Browns can't run the ball, Stefanski's offense is very bland, very, very stale. When it's obvious passing situations, his offense does not work, and I think this offensive line is going to have them in those non-obvious passing situations. So I'm going to take Cleveland, but I don't love it enough to make a lock.
Yeah, I was thinking about the run game, and then when you look up the Chargers defense, the Chargers have the best run defense in the NFL right now, according to success rate and EPA. And what the Chargers do very well, so they actually lead the league in zone coverage played out of all defenses so far through 8 weeks. They lead the league in check downs, so they force the opposing quarterback to just take what's there, the 3-4 yard pickups. And Jameis Winston, that's not his game. Like he wants to push the ball deep down the field. The Chargers are second in explosive play rate allowed on defense. So yeah. I think you're going to see some Jameis turnovers this week.
I have the Chargers defense in the same bucket as the Denver defense. Talk to me when they've played decent enough quarterbacks.
Yeah, but is Jameis like I like Jameis, but are we throwing him in the decent bucket right now? Like you brought up Kyle Hamilton picks that ball. Which
you're right.
Should have had.
You're right. Kyle Hamilton picks that ball off.
It's a whole new game. Anyways, like I like the Chargers -1.5, but it's not going to be one of my 3 locks. Anyways, let's move on. Miami Dolphins on the road to take on the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are 6.5 point favorites. To a revenge game, maybe here. Play the team that could custom and knocked them out for a good chunk of the season. Warrensy, what you got?
Yeah, that was a tough scene last time these two teams played, Tua and Herb, but I was disappointed in Miami again last week. I was close to taking them back-to-back weeks. It's a good thing I didn't go back to that bucket last week because I was thoroughly disappointed once again in this Miami offense. Although it looked right again, right? Like with Huntley and Tim Boyle, Skylar Thompson, that offense was unwatchable. So their offense has gotten back to at least watchable. But the Bills historically have always been a really tough matchup for Miami. The Bills kind of defense, their issue right now is in the middle of the field, down the spine of the defense. That's where their injuries have been. Dolphins, historically, they run a lot of stuff to the outside. They throw balls to the outside screens, stuff like that. It's just not a good matchup. And then on the other side, Josh Allen, he's a good matchup against any defense. So I'm going with what I should have done that Thursday night and taking the Bills. And this time I got Bills Mafia behind me at home. So I'm taking, I like the Bills at home here.
Yeah, the Bills have won 12 of the last 13 matchups in this divisional rival. They historically kill the Dolphins. One of my locks is going to be here. It's going to be a prop bet. It's not going to be a spread, but the Amari Cooper trade has kind of made Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir better quietly more than the other way around.
Knocks him down the peg. Knocks him to the right peg.
Keon Coleman has done a great job so far, and then the guy that I'm zoned on this week is Khalil Shakir. He's been fantastic this season. He's been one of the most efficient wide receivers in the NFL. He had 50-plus receiving yards in the game against the Dolphins earlier in the year. He's hit it 5 of the last 6 games. The only game he hasn't hit it was the game he played 38% of the snaps in against the Jets, which he got hurt in that one. He had 107 last week against Seattle. Right now in FanDuel, his 50-plus mark is sitting at minus 112. So I would be all over that. That's going to be one of my favorite bets of the week. I'm locking that in. I think it's way too low. Maybe get that quickly because I think it's going to be going up and up as you listen to this and as the time goes on. And just one more crazy stat. Josh Allen targeting Khalil Shakir this year, 36 for 38. He's completing 94.7% of his targets to Khalil Shakir. This is his trustworthy guy. The Dolphins play a lot of zone coverage. Khalil Shakir is great at zone coverage. I'm all over his receiving prop in this game.
I like it. I like it a lot.
All right, move on to the next one. The Washington Commanders, 3.5-point road favorites against the New York Giants. That was a very brutal Monday night watch. The Giants tried to make their way back in the game. The Steelers handed it to them with the fumble and whatnot, but then Daniel Jones throws one of the worst interceptions of the year. This Giants team's a mess. Tyrone Tracy's looked good. He's in concussion protocol. We don't know if he's going to play, but he's provided them a little bit of spark in the run game. Exactly, yeah. He only has a few days to clear that. And we saw what happened with Malik Neighbors when he was in protocol earlier this year for the same team. The Washington Commanders defense, Warrenty, starting to turn a corner here. They're first in EPA per dropback since week 4. Pretty good after a team that was decimated through the pass or through the air over the first few weeks of the season. You got anything on this NFC East rivalry?
Yeah, this is going to be one of my first locks of the week, or I guess it is going to be my first lock of the week. And I was really, really impressed with watching the Commanders closely last week. And I also thought it was just a really good game overall in terms of the Commanders' offense was amazing through the 20s, but then the Bears' defense kept holding them and keeping them out of the end zone, forcing them to kick field goals. Well, I don't think the Giants' defense is going to do that this week. I think Daniels is going to stay red hot. He is just such a matchup nightmare. He can do whatever he wants in terms of throwing the ball or running the ball, and I think that this Commanders offense is absolutely legit. I am selling hard on the Giants right now. I was very surprised the spread is 3.5. I do think this is a very square play. I do think a lot of the public sheep will be with me on this one, on the Commanders minus 3.5, but I think this line is too low. So give me Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, it looked like a fishy line, but the more I just dove into it, I'm like, I'm getting the Commanders at a bargain here, right? Like that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Like,
their offense is legit.
Well,
I am fully on board with it. I don't care if it's Cliff Kingsbury. Maybe he does have the late season nosedive like his offenses have in the past, but right now, Jaden Daniels he should be in the MVP conversation. He is legitimately that good right away.
Yeah, he made a lot of good plays on the ground. The Giants' pass rush is their best unit, and he's a guy that can kind of get around that. He can escape the Dexter Lawrences, the Brian Burnses of the world, and can kind of get out of the pocket and push the ball down the field. One more thing on this game, Jer'Zhan Newton or Johnny Newton, whatever he wants to go by nowadays, I thought played amazing against the Bears. And this is a guy that's stepping in for Jonathan Allen. He was a second-round pick this year. He should have been a first-round pick. He was injured, and it took him a week or two to play, so teams were kind of a little worried about him. But he was balling out against Chicago, so he replaces the best player on the Commanders' defense pretty nicely. I'm really excited to see kind of what he can bring for Washington as the season progresses. But I'm with you. I like the Commanders minus 3.5. It's not going to be my lock. Take one of the best offenses against a bad team at a pretty low number with this one. All right, the Dallas Cowboys to finish off. The 1 o'clock games are on the road to play the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are 2.5-point favorites. I'll pass the ball to you first. You got anything on this one?
Really close. If we had 4 locks, this one would have been my 4th, and it would have been the over in this ball game. And reason it didn't make it is because by now we've missed the best of the number. This opened around 48. It's gone all the way up to 51.5 now. So we missed the best of the number, and the reason for that would be these teams can't rush the quarterback. Now, we don't know if Micah Parsons is playing yet or not.
He's not going to play
yet.
Yeah, he's going to be out.
So he's out. Okay, so the Dallas Cowboys right now are 29th in pass rush win rate. The Atlanta Falcons are 28th in pass rush win rate. Neither of these teams can get pressure on the quarterback. And then on the flip side, Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins are above average quarterbacks. So normally if those guys aren't getting pressured, that equals points. So I really did like this over, and I still like it at 51.5. Like I said, it would probably be my fourth lock of the week. As for the sake of the game, I just think the Cowboys are way too one-dimensional right now. They cannot run the football a lick. I don't miss me with Rico Dowdle's back this week. I don't think that adds any juice to this anemic run game. So they're way too one-dimensional. I think the Falcons cover this one.
He was signing autographs with fans at that game, and they labeled him a sick illness. He wasn't sick. He was a healthy scratch. They wanted to see what Dalvin Cook could bring. Let's get real here. And how did that work out?
Probably.
The Cowboys can't run the football. This is going to be my one spread lock of the week. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons minus 2.5, and I love this one. When I was looking at the numbers, this one just seems so one-sided. Dallas is now down to 26 in offensive DVOA. The Falcons are 6 in offensive DVOA. The Falcons are one of the better running teams in the NFL and have one of the best running backs in the NFL in Bijan Robinson. And the Cowboys can't stop the run. The Falcons use motion on 62% of their plays, the 5th highest in the league. The Cowboys are 32nd, dead last in EPA against offenses with motion. Micah Parsons isn't playing. The Dak Prescott right now, Warrensy, you said he's an above-average quarterback. He is 26 out of 32 starters right now in success rate in the NFL, and he is tied for the most turnover-worthy plays according to Pro Football Focus. This offense can't move the ball. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I am fading this Cowboys team as of now and going forward until I see something better. I think this offense stinks. I don't think there's playmakers on it. I don't think this defense has very many stars without Micah Parsons on it, and you only get 2.5 points here with the Falcons at home. I'm all over this one. This is my favorite bet of the week. Give me the Falcons minus 2.5.
Yeah, no, I definitely side with you. I do think Dak will put up points in this game because the Falcons are allowing the highest completion percentage in the NFL. I think Dak is at least good enough to take advantage of that and get some points on the board. Although I could completely buy that the Falcons don't even punt in this game because they'll get whatever they want. They run the ball with Bijan. They'll be second and short all day long, and that's where Kirky's comfortable.
Yeah, I like a lot of Bijan props in this game. All right, that's the 1 o'clock slate. Not a ton to work with there. Not so great games, but a better afternoon slate, and we'll talk about it after this.
The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with professional licensed therapists you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.
And we're back on the Double Doink Podcast. Let's talk Warrensy's Bears. The Hail Mary game, Warrens, we already talked about at the top, but they got to play football again, short memory in the NFL. You got a team coming in that's hot in the NFC West. This is probably my favorite game. Actually, I'll say this is my favorite game. I like it better than the Lions-Packers. I think this one's fascinating. What you got, Warrensy, with your Bears?
Yeah, so I teased at the top that could potentially throw a positive spin on last week's loss, and the only thing I could think of is that loss, no matter what, I think it did solidify that this team will be moving on from Matt Eberflus next year. You can't look at that game.
That's your positive spin. I thought you were giving
the loss was completely based on coaching. And hey, everybody's talking about the Hail Mary. Let's not forget that this guy handed the ball off to the backup center on the 1 yard line in the fourth quarter. So there's multiple reasons in this game to just point directly at coaching. I think no matter what this team does going forward this year, I think Ryan Poles' decision has been made that Eberflus won't be back next year. So that's my positive.
I thought you were gonna come with a positive for like this week. Like we got a matchup I like or something like that. You're going big picture here. Did you see Shane Waldron defended his decision to hand the ball to the center in the media today? He said he would do it again. So DJ Moore publicly like hated the play call at his press conference. I think it was on Tuesday.
Obviously.
Yeah, like they're the players in the press conferences have been very interesting. Like they clearly do not like what's going on there.
Just most insane. Had a pretty. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it was the most insane play call. I'm with you. Like that was baffling to me. Just give the ball to the running back. But Kevin Byard had something to say too. I must have missed this one.
Yeah, no, he just had a interview where he straight up said, "Yeah, me and Eberflus talked about it, and we disagreed on what was called." Just like,
all right, coach. Whatever you say, coach. Whatever you say, coach. All right. Well, this game.
For the game, though.
Yeah.
I am a little bit worried about the Bears' injury report here because coming out of the bye, they were supposed to be getting healthier, and the defense definitely did miss Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon. They still haven't practiced. Those would be big misses. And on top of it, Montez Sweat popped up on the injury report this week. He did get in a limited today, but he didn't practice on Wednesday. And then the offensive line is also all of a sudden really banged up because left tackle Braxton Jones went down with a knee. We saw his replacement last week was a 6th-round rookie just get absolutely torched relentlessly. It was a really ugly. He looked like somebody who was taking his first snaps ever in the NFL. I mean, that's exactly what it was. But they did activate Larry Borom off of IR this week. He's the swing tackle heading into the year, so should be a little bit better at left tackle. And I don't know if the Arizona Cardinals can take advantage of a banged up Bears offensive line. Anyways, I do think their trenches are a little bit weak, so it's not a lock or anything, but I'm going to ride with the Bears plus 1.5. I think they bounce back after a really embarrassing loss.
Yeah, boy, hop on your team again, man. Ride with them, ride or die. It's basically a pick 'em. I really struggled with the spread in this one. I'm going to take the Bears plus 1.5, but I don't love it because I think the Cardinals are starting to play some good football. And I do think this Cardinals run attack can match up well against this Bears run defense. The Bears run defense has been mediocre this season, and the Cardinals play a lot of heavy personnel. They can pound you on the run. I think it's going to come down to, can the Bears minimize the 6, 8, 10-yard carries that the Cardinals run offense lives off of. And the Bears defense has not allowed 21-plus points since November 19th of last season. We're almost going on a year here. So I'm just going to trust that stat and trust that they can hold them to 20 points, and the Bears can get enough on this mediocre Cardinals defense. We talked about the Cardinals defense being bad last week. They can't take over. They can't stop the intermediate pass, and I think Caleb Williams can have success in this one and kind of rebound from a poor offensive showing. But it's one of my least favorite picks of the week, but I'm fascinated by this football.
Trey McBride scares the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to have a huge game, but Jalen Johnson should lock down Marvin Harrison Jr. So if you're looking at Cardinals props, I would definitely lean McBride over Harrison.
All right, the Los Angeles Rams 1.5-point road favorites against the Seattle Seahawks. I love this game too. Small sample size, but Puka Nacua is second in yards per route run in the league. He looked great on Thursday Night Football. They have a little bit of a rest now. 10 days off since their last game. Seahawks got whooped by the Buffalo Bills. Offense looked like a mess. The red zone offense, especially. But they get DK Metcalf back. Maybe that will help them out. What do you got in this NFC West matchup?
Yeah, this is gonna be a lock for me, and I am taking the Los Angeles Rams minus 1.5. So you mentioned small sample size for Puka Nacua. I have a small sample size on this stat, but over the last 2 seasons, when Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, and Matt Stafford are all on the field, Rams have the number 1 EPA offense. They're all playing this week, as far as I know, and I think this is a good matchup versus Seattle. I know it is new defense, so run in Seattle by McDonald, so you can't use the old stats of Sean McVay has really owned Seattle historically, but that was the Pete Carroll era. But if you look at last year when McDonald was in Baltimore, if you remember, there was a game last year, the Rams and the Ravens played, and it was a torrential downpour, but this Rams offense got whatever they wanted on the Baltimore defense, and that was really Baltimore's defense's only slip-up of the entire season. they were the number one defense in terms of EPA last season. So I think that McVay knows how to beat McDonald and his defense, and you give McVay a little bit of extra time because he has the mini bye playing last Thursday. Give me the Rams -1.5.
Yeah, one of my takes, I'm going to get out there now. I think the Rams could win this division. Like, I think
for sure,
like the division's all tied up. They're the only team I think that has a bye so far. The rest of the teams are 4-4. When it's Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, I think this team has one of the best offenses in the league. And I legit think that they could be hosting the NFC West crown after this because this division is so crowded right now. And they just stand out with how good their offense is, with Jared Verse playing well. I know he like just dominated David Questenberry last week for the Vikings, and that guy stinks. But at the same time, I do think like he's good enough with Brandon Fisk and in this Rams defense now with Darius Williams back in the secondary, who is done wonders because they had no one when he was injured. So I'm buying this Rams team. I'm buying Rams stock. So they're not going to be one of my locks, but I'll take the -1.5.
And I don't think it's for sure that Metcalf is playing. I don't think he's practiced yet.
All reports say he is. It sounds like they're just kind of resting him, but we'll see on Friday. JSN has not been the guy that I thought he was going to be this year. He has actually, his yards per route run is 1.22 this year. It was 1.33 last year. He's actually taking a step down in the Ryan Grubb offense.
Yeah, I do think the DK Metcalf injury is huge to monitor because that proves JSN he's not ready to take that step up the ladder, right? I really like Tyler Lockett as a number 2. I don't like him as a number 1. JSN as a number 3, I really like. I don't really love him as a number 2, right? So that Metcalf injury is huge to monitor.
Before we move on to the next game, just crossed my mind. I didn't get a Bills spread in. I'm taking the -6.5. I don't know if you did either for the Buffalo Bills.
And I for some reason I said 6.5. I think it's 5.5 right now.
It's 5.5. Okay, I had 6.5 in my notes here, but we're both taking the Bills.
Yeah, live right now it's 5.5.
Okay, well, we'll take Buffalo Bills -5.5. Just wanted to make sure we got a spread pick in there. All right, next up, NFC North matchup. Many say maybe the best game of the week. It is fun for sure. The Detroit Lions, 3.5-point road favorites against the Green Bay Packers heading into Lambeau. Jordan Love was a limited participant in practice today. He said that he thinks he's going to play. He hurt his groin last week. Malik Willis kind of came in, saved the day. Malik Willis just plays damn well when he's thrusted in there to save the day for the Green Bay Packers. What a trade for them. 7th round pick on cutdown day. He's done very well as the Green Bay Packers starter, but all signs point to Jordan Love. What you got, Wardsy? You know these teams.
Yeah, I guess when I was prepping for this, it was very murky on if Jordan Love was going to play or not. You sound super confident he's going to play.
I think he is. I think he is.
I'm kind of torn on what I think Vegas thinks, because I think that Packers at +2.5 kind of tells me they think it's going to be Willis. But then I look at the total, and 48.5 is a high number. That makes me think that they think it's going to be Love. So I thought if it would be Love, this game would be closer to a pick. I don't know if that's just me or not, but I don't think it's 100%.
when I did my prep, it was 3.5. Now it's down to 2.5. So I wanted to ask you about the spread anyways, if you think this means he's going to play or not. So does that 1 point drop mean anything?
Right.
It's hard to get a read on.
That would be Vegas then.
But I feel like Love is worth more than 1 point at the same time.
Right, because I don't think it's 100% certain that Love's playing, because also LaFleur in the past gives us nothing. He's always, remember the week after Brazil. Oh, there's a chance he could play. There's a chance. There was never a chance.
Jordan Love said that he thinks he's going to play. This didn't come from LaFleur. Like himself in the locker room.
Yeah, but he's trained. He knows what he's doing, because it's an advantage, because they're such wildly different quarterbacks. That's what changes this handicap dramatically, because to beat the Lions, I think you have to be able to air the ball out. I don't think you can go with a Malik Willis run-heavy game plan and beat the Lions. I think that works into their favor. But if you're telling me it's Jordan Love and he can air the ball out against this, he's healthy enough to air the ball out against this Detroit secondary, but I think that's how you beat them. So I would definitely lean Green Bay if Jordan Love's playing, but if it's not him, I really start to like the Lions then. So the Lions over the last this was a stat that blew my absolute mind. The Lions over the last 5 weeks have more touchdowns than incompletions.
Yeah, Jared Goff has been outstanding. He won.
No team's ever done that in like the last 55 years and over a 5-week stretch. Mm-hmm. The Lions just did it. It's just like, yeah, that's just the Lions. Like,
yeah, they've been the Ravens and Lions have been the best two offenses in the NFL this season, in my opinion. Maybe Washington you could throw in there too. But the Lions offense is very efficient. They just get the ball out quickly. Jared Goff was also in the injury report, which is somewhat notable due to a back injury, I believe, but it sounds like he's going to be fine. This game was very hard for me to handicap just because of the Love thing. I think he's going to play. If he does play, I'm going to take the Packers. Something that he needs to do better is not turn the ball over. He is tied for the league lead in interceptions so far. And he's only played 6 games. He's played 2 games less than Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes, and he's tied for the league lead. So I really do think that Love has more to give. And this would be a crucial matchup. Like this is a game that goes in when we're talking in December and January, who's going to win the NFC North. This is one that you want on your books. But I'm going to continue to trust the Packers, even though back-to-back weeks I've backed them and haven't covered the spread by the hook by a 0.5 against the Texans, and then last week against the Jaguars. But I still do think this is the best team in the NFC North, and I might be the only one in the world with that take, but I still like them.
It is also a bye next week which is worth. I know it is a huge game for them, but if they deem Love not to be 100%, you could be risking a long season worth for just one game when he has the bye next week. And this is the game to monitor the weather on. There is a very high chance that it's raining throughout this game. I think that aids the Packers. This will be the Lions' first outdoor game of the season.
Interesting. Yeah, we had that stat at the beginning of the year where they play 14 games in a dome. So this is their first one.
This is first of 3.
Yeah, and Goff's a different guy inside and outside, so it's something to monitor. Okay, final 4:00 game. The Philadelphia Eagles are at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Eagles are 7.5-point favorites. Kelly Green week, Warrensy. I love these jerseys. Can't wait to see them in action against the Jags. Eagles are rolling, man. They have won 3 in a row. They stomped on the Bengals last week. That second half was 2 different football teams. And it was nice to see Jalen Hurts be the best player on the football field. Since week 5, Warrensy, Jalen Hurts leads all quarterbacks in EPA. He looked, like I said, great last week. He was picking them apart in the pocket. He had a third and 16 throw to A.J. Brown. That was absolute money. That deep shot to Devontae Smith was money. He's starting to look more comfortable in this offense. And the Eagles defense have only allowed 2 touchdowns over the last 3 games. Since Cooper DeJean has been in the starting slot corner role, it's kind of just retransformed this defense. I'm liking what I'm seeing from my Birds. You know what? One more thing. I just think they're fun this year, because they just hit the A.J. Brown button, Devonta Smith button, Saquon Barkley button. They're just so many fun offensive players to watch this season for me. I don't know. I'm having fun in Eagles land here. Let's get an outsider perspective. What do you think about Doug Peterson coming back to Philly?
Yeah, no, last week was get right week for the Eagles. It was great to see their offense clicking on all cylinders, and I don't see why that wouldn't continue this week, right? I wish this number was under the field goal because I would have really liked taking the Eagles here as a lock. I am still going to take them for the show at 7.5, but if it was under 7, I would definitely be considering them as a lock because they have weapons on the outside with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. The secondary of the Jaguars has looked slightly better with Tyson Campbell back, their best cover corner. So I will give them a slight hat tip, but it is still a very, very below average secondary. And having the 2 wide receivers, I think Jalen Hurts throws the ball around the yard, and Philly has success here. And I haven't even brought up Saquon Barkley yet. So yeah, give me the Eagles here, but I don't love it enough as a lock.
I'm going to take the Eagles minus 7.5. My lock is going to be a prop in this one. You brought up the Jags secondary. They play man coverage at the highest rate in the NFL by a wide margin this year. 52% Warrensy. No other team is over 47%. They spam it. guess who the best receiver in the league against man coverage is over the last 2 seasons?
Ooh.
It's A.J. Brown.
AJ.
Since A.J. Brown's come back from injury, he's just been an absolute monster. He is, right now, Warrensy, the league leader in yards per route run. He is a monster this season. His total right now at over 80 receiving yards is minus 112. So go sprint and hit that. I will be taking every A.J. Brown prop over. I will be doing 2 touchdowns. I will be doing a touchdown. I might ladder everything. I think he absolutely cooks in this game. So my third lock of the week is going to be A.J. Brown over 80 receiving yards. I think he has a monster day, and I think the Eagles continue to roll. And those Kelly Greens, I can't wait.
Yep. Sprinkle on the 100. Sprinkle on the 100 while you're there.
I think it's plus 210 at the 100. I think A.J. Brown has an absolute monster week. I'm looking forward to him, like I said, balling out in those Kelly Greens and facing Doug Peterson. All right, the game that flexed out the Jaguars and Eagles, like the Eagles and Jaguars, supposed to be Sunday night this week, and the NFL decided to push in Sam Darnold versus Joe Flacco. Warren Z, let's have the Anthony Richardson discussion. So he gets benched this week, a week after he goes 10 of 32. He was 2 of 15, I believe, at one point. And there was a play that everyone's talking about. He removed himself from the game after like a run where he throws a defensive tackle off his back. It goes like 3rd and 22. Like the 25-yard line or something like that, takes himself out of the game. He says after the game he's too tired. He gets ripped from basically every single person in the media, including former players. The Colts go with Joe Flacco for the foreseeable future. This isn't a one-game benching. They're riding with Joe Flacco. Right decision, wrong decision. What do you make of this game? Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, if the Indianapolis Colts' goal is to win this season, it's the right decision. I think you can have a conversation on what their goal should or should not be, because I think everybody would agree their ceiling is not Super Bowl. So I can see both sides of the argument where if you're a Colts fan, I think there are people who said, we're not winning the Super Bowl anyways, we got to develop this 4th overall pick. And then I think you would see there's other Colts fans saying, hey, we definitely could make the playoffs this season. Look around the AFC. They're right in the middle of things. And Joe Flacco wins that football game last week. I watched a lot of that game, and I think it's unquestionable Joe Flacco wins that football game. Anthony Richardson looks exactly like Anthony Richardson did in college. I don't know why anybody's surprised by this.
That's what pisses me off about this, though.
Yeah.
They knew what they were getting. Like, why are they shocked he's not having a great completion percentage? You said you watched a lot of that game. When I went back and watched it, there were some bad drops from the Colts receivers. You had Josh. You had who was the 2nd-round pick from Texas? Adonai Mitchell dropped the one in the end zone. There was someone else, I don't know if it was Downs, who dropped one on the left side. Richardson could have thrown for 3 touchdowns in this game. Now his completion percentage might have been just over 50% or something like that. But
still not good.
I really do think, Warren Z, here's my take. I think they benched him solely off of him taking himself out of the game. I think that was it.
I hope not, because he ran like 3 consecutive plays in a row, and it was 3rd and 25.
I agree. I don't think when this happened, I was like, what do I make of this? And the more I dove in, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Colts fans are pissed off. I would be pissed off. Like, you're receiving with Flacco's 9-8, 10-7. With Anthony Richardson, you get to see this guy develop. This whole season should have been about what we got in Anthony Richardson, and now you're delaying the potential inevitable of him not being the guy. And like, it's not quarterback struggle out the gate. He's still 22 years old. He hasn't played a full season in the NFL yet. You had a higher pass rating than
football.
Exactly.
He's played football the last 4 or 5 years.
He needs reps. He's had a higher pass rating than Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, Eli Manning, Carson Palmer, Don McNabb in their first 16 starts. So I don't know. I think this is very short-sighted. I don't agree with Shane Steichen here. But anyways, that's my rant on the situation.
Yeah, I can buy that. And we have a football game here, and I actually have a lock in this game. And it's taking the Vikings minus 5.5. I'm fading this. But that's Joe Flacco, right? He's the blessing and the curse, because he's going to come in here and you're going to realize he's better than your starter. That's not a good thing. That's sometimes not the best thing to have in a backup. But anyways, I'm going Vikings minus 5.5 here. I really like these coaches, and they're off the mini bye here too. They get a good full week of prepping against Indianapolis Colts defense that I really, really question. I've been fading this defense for a few weeks now. Haven't gotten the results I want, but I'm sticking with my guns here, and I think Sam Darnold has a good week offensively for the Vikings. And on the other side of things, I don't think this is the best week to make this move, because if you look at this Vikings defense, the way to beat them is to stay out of third and long, obvious passing situations. That's where Brian Flores really throws his exotic blitzes at you. And if you look at Jonathan Taylor's career, or when Anthony Richardson is there, it actually really helps his EPA per rush and success rate. With Joe Flacco and other quarterbacks, the other team the defense just changes, and Jonathan Taylor doesn't have as high of a success rate with other quarterbacks not named Anthony Richardson. So I don't think the run game is going to work well. It's going to be third and long, and Brian Flores is going to tee off with his exotic blitzes. Give me the Vikings -5.5.
Yeah, I like this a lot. This was I was eyeing this one as a lock earlier in the week, or once the Flacco thing kind of came down. 5.5 is a little too much to be lock in, but I do like the Vikings -5.5. Quietly, the Vikings got Cam Robinson in a trade this week to replace David Questenberry, or I guess replace. Why am I missing Christian Darrisaw, who's one of the best left tackles in the NFL. So Cam Robinson isn't a stud, but I think he's average. I think he can give you average left tackle play, and it's better than what Questenberry was giving you on that Thursday night game. And I'm again.
And Hawkinson's back.
Yeah, TJ Hawkins is back. I think the Vikings bounce back, and they have the 10-day rest. I'm all over Vikings as well. All right, Monday Night Football. Let's finish this off. The Kansas City Chiefs are hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. It's tough for Bucs fans without Godwin and Evans. I like the Chiefs -8.5 here. I know it's a big spread. It's a big number. But I don't know how the Bucs can keep pace here. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to get more involved. I think the Chiefs' offense is just going to get better and better and better as the season goes on, and that's scary for a team that's undefeated. I don't know who's going to step up for the Bucs, so I like the Chiefs here -8.5, but don't love it.
Yeah, it's a tough, weird game. I liked the Chiefs last week as 7.5-point favorites against the Raiders, and the Raiders backdoored them. So
yeah.
I think Baker could do the same here. I'm gonna take the 8.5 just for the backdoor potential, but I definitely don't love it.
She wrote for us. Let's recap. Warnsey, give us your 3 locks.
I'm on the Los Angeles Rams -1.5, the Vikings -5.5, and the Commanders -3.5. I want 3 favorites this week. Ugh. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? All right, I'm on the Atlanta Falcons -2.5. Khalil Shakir over 50 receiving yards, and A.J. Brown over 80 receiving yards. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we will talk to you later.